Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Tactical Harmony. And I am so very excited to welcome Clara Capano to today's show. She is a podcaster, an international speaker, and best-selling author who has been featured on NBC, ABC, Fox, and more. Clara, welcome to the Tactical Harmony Show.
Oh, thanks, Rebecca. I am so excited to be here.
Oh gosh, I have so many amazing questions to prepare for you. So let's start with
Sure.
talking about the heart and essence of your business, which is clarity. So
Yeah.
after 20 years of leadership and sales and all of your experience, how did you decide that clarity was the central framework for what you do?
Well, it sort of happened by accident. I think my parents must have known it because they named me Clara, and I hated my name growing up. I fought it for many years, and then all of a sudden I was like, "Oh my goodness, it's perfect." But, when you think about it, isn't this life? We go through life oftentimes very confused. And when people are confused, it's hard to take action and go forward. And as a strategist, as someone that really focuses on helping others be high performing, how can you do that if you don't have clarity? Clarity of your vision, clarity of your role, clarity of your actions, all of these things. Being successful, living a successful life, both personally and professionally, it requires being clear. So life requires clarity.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Your name is beautiful, by the way. I love your name.
Thank you. I've
It's
learned to
so
love it over the years. Yes.
it's beyond fitting. And I mean, yeah, like clarity is currency, as you always say. And can
Mhm.
you walk us through I believe there's an acronym or how you kind of spell it out, what that framework is. Can you share that for our audience?
Certainly. So I use my name and then I just add the TY. So it's Clara T. And then what I do is I really help people through this. And the idea is, the first one is the C, it's the clarity of vision. Getting again clear on what drives you. What is your why? What is your motivating factor? Then we go into the L, which is all about learning how to leverage your time. Time is such a valuable asset. And most of us, unfortunately, are wasting it because we don't know how to invest it. The A is all about action. You got to be clear on the actions. The truth is, we are capable beings. We can do everything, but that doesn't mean we should be doing everything. So let's get clear on whatever our role is. What are the core activities we should be doing? Then it goes into the R, where as much as we need to take action, rest and recovery is just as important, if not more so. So, understanding that self care is not selfish, it's how we serve others and truly can deliver value. Then, speaking of value, we have to learn how to articulate our value. Money flows to value. People connect with value. So let's learn what we are bringing and how to articulate the value to our clients, to our customers, to the public. Then we go into the T, which is all about tracking and measuring. You don't know if things are working unless you track and measure them. So it's about evolving, it's about adapting and being ever changing in the right ways. And then finally, the Y is all about yes, it's time to celebrate. We don't want to wait until the end of the year to celebrate. We want to have milestones because in each and every day there is beauty, and we want to be able to celebrate that joy and celebrate that beauty as we go.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I love that you have that as a part of your framework. The last part of what you said,
Mhm.
celebrating and the victories. That is so important to
Yeah.
celebrate incremental victories every single day. And like you said, there is beauty in every single day, but we
Yeah.
have to train our brains to look for it because so often
Exactly.
our brains look for what's wrong, and that's designed to keep us safe, and that's great. But if we kind of flip that script as you put in your framework, and we're looking for the good, we're looking
Exactly.
for the blessings, we're
Well,
gonna
and it's all
see.
about, yeah, it's all about, having gratitude. So many times people talk about living in gratitude and they talk about having a gratitude practice in the morning, which is wonderful. And that is something I do. But why not have gratitude at the end of the day too? Rather than ending the day going through everything we didn't get done, let's celebrate what we did get done.
Absolutely. Oh, amen to that. I love that. So and maybe this is answered in your framework, your acronym, but if someone comes to you for help, Clara, or for training or coaching, what is the starting point, or where do you kind of set them, to
Mhm.
start off when they say, "Hey, I need clarity. What do I do?" Does it start with vision or does it start with something else?
Great question. It does start with vision because that is the foundation for everything. Every decision that you make, the actions that you take, everything. If you don't have a vision, how do you know how to go forward? Helen Keller has a great quote that I love and I use in a lot of the talks that I do, which is she was once asked if she could think of anything worse than being blind. And she said, yes, being able to see, but having no vision. That is our compass. And we need to know where we want to go because, as I mentioned, that defines our energy. It defines who we work with. It defines what we are selling or serving to others. Every decision that we make has to come back to, is this fitting into our vision or is it taking us away from our vision?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I would say also your yeses and nos are intertwined. When we
Mhm.
say yes,
Very true.
say yes to something, we say no to something and vice versa. And
Mhm.
having that, I always say being tethered to
Yeah,
your vision, your mission, and your values. And that is
exactly.
it's everything. So I love that you have that as your part of your framework. And it's also part of my North Star and kind of
Mhm.
what we do here in Tactical Harmony. Curious to see what you're going to say to this question. What is a common misconception that maybe you have seen in your experience with regards to this is what you have to do to be a good leader? Like, what's a misconception that you see that you're like, no, 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 you don't have to have that?
First of all, it's this idea of, are leaders born or are they created? And I think the answer is yes. It's a little bit of both. And it really comes from, again, your inside, your heart, understanding it, being a leader is not about always just delegating. It's not just about telling people what to do. It is about listening. It is about guiding people, growing them. It's not one size fits all. And there is a time and a place for different types of leadership styles. Sometimes being more directive is what your people need. Sometimes being more, thoughtful, that's what they need. But I think, the idea is leadership is not about being liked. You can do it in a kind way, but you're there to help them get the most out of themselves. And in many ways, when you're leading others so that they don't need you. It's kind of like parenting in a way. When you're parenting, the idea is to grow your children so they can take care of themselves. A company shouldn't only exist because of the leader. If the leader leaves and the company would fall apart, the leader hasn't done their job. So, we have to understand that leading isn't about making people dependent on you. It's almost about making them independent of you.
That's a beautiful way to characterize it, and I could not agree with you more in regards to leadership is not about being liked, because if
Mhm.
you're leading with that, of course people wanna be liked, but if you are
Sure.
leading with that, then you're gonna second guess yourself, or you're going to wonder, "Oh, maybe I shouldn't say this." Like, no,
Mhm.
being direct is the kind and honest thing to do, and that is 100% my leadership style, is I'm professional and I do it with love and I'm heart-centered and I'm very, professional, respectful.
Mhm.
But if I am direct and I'm giving you honest, kind feedback, I'm not worrying about if I'm liked because I'm doing it to serve you, to grow you, to further you along your
Yeah.
trajectory. So that's
And
that's wonderful.
And I think a second part to that is understanding that it's not about you. It's not about any individual part. It's about the company. And decisions need to be made on what is best for the organization, for the culture of the organization. And so trying to understand that and, it's those checks and balances. It has nothing to do with, do I like that person personally? It's all what is about the health of the organization.
I love that. Yeah, kind of zooming out and looking at that. And
Mhm.
yeah, if you are not able to leave your role for a few days a week and go on leave and do all the things and have the rest and recovery, as Clara said, as part of her
Mhm.
framework, and that's a clue that something's wrong because you should not have to be there, but in seat for your team, for the
Yeah.
organization to keep progressing and moving in your absence. Next question I have for you. One of your keynotes is called here it is, the human advantage. And I love that title. That's so beautiful. And it involves leading with empathy, which I think is such an important force. And I'm gonna
Mhm.
call it that. It's a force these days So Clara, I would love to know, like, how, in your opinion, how important is emotional intelligence in leadership, especially in the age of AI? Like,
Yeah.
how is that balanced or harmonized? Like, I'd love to hear your answer
Mhm.
here.
And, this is something that's really important right now because with the age of AI and technology, what we have to understand is that we should be using AI and technology to enhance what we do, not replace it. And I am just a firm believer that outside of the three basic needs of food, clothing, and shelter, human connection is the fourth basic human need. And we need it now more than ever. So bringing it in and having empathy really is everything. Letting people know that they are seen, that they are heard. Things are moving so fast. And honestly, people are confused. People are scared. They don't know what is coming next and people are feeling very uncertain. And as a leader, that's part of our job. It's to clarify the future. And when we can clarify the future and also their role in the future, it brings in a sense of security, which helps to build trust in everything we do. So we cannot forget that human element. There's a time for technology and there's a time for humanity.
Absolutely. And, you know, AI cannot look someone in the eyes and earn their trust and respect.
No. AI cannot
Bottom
build culture.
No,
Mm.
it cannot. And I agree. I completely align with you as well that AI should be utilized and technology and
Mhm.
automations to enhance what the humans are doing. But having that, like you said, the clarity in that role and what the future can look like, especially in a time that is so uncertain, is everything. And
Yeah.
that is through human connection. So
Yeah.
what a wonderful keynote and title. I really love that. So one thing that I have seen so much in my time, and I'm imagine that you have as well, is that people confuse being busy with being productive. And
All the
I'm just
time.
like, you're shaking your head,
Yeah.
right? Like all the time. I'm like, y'all can be
Mhm.
super busy, but are you actually achieving the results and the objectives that you want? So for those who are listening, what is one shift that they could take right now, Clara, that would help them become productive if they think they're being so busy?
So, time blocking, a lot of people hedge away from that and, they fight a schedule. They think that a schedule is going to be too restrictive. And the mindset shift is that a schedule actually brings you freedom because the things that get scheduled get done. So, taking some time, one of my secret weapons is I do a planning session with myself. I call it my CEO session on Sundays. And I lay out the week. I can reflect on last week, I game plan for this week so I can really get myself set up. I also do something called bubble time where I run my days with tight bubbles of focus with minimal limited distractions during those times so that I can really have intense focused work without the distractions. It keeps me from multitasking and we can get a lot done in 30 to 45-minute increments when we're not being interrupted and distracted.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Yeah, I do that. I do the same thing. I don't call it bubble time. Is that what you said? Bubble time?
Yeah.
I love that. That's fun. Yeah, that time boxing, being undisturbed. This is my time and it's amazing what you can achieve. And I actually utilized that methodology when I was writing my book. I did it
Mhm.
on Sundays as it were,
Yeah.
and I usually did like an hour or two and my husband knew, "Hey, this is my time. I'm going to, create my environment." I lit my candle. Everyone was good in the household. The phone was off and it was me versus me and my book.
Yep.
And that is what I did. And people were floored. Like, how did you write the book? Time boxing. I just knew
Yep.
this was my day, my time. And then I
Mhm.
never let my foot off the gas. And it's amazing. No matter what, you have 5 kids, you have no kids, you're busy, you have your business. It's
Mhm.
amazing what you accomplish. So I completely echo what you just said.
Yeah. The other thing I would really encourage people to do is to write their job description. I think, especially as leaders, we have job descriptions for everybody on our team, everybody on our staff, but many of us haven't done a job description for ourselves. And then we start doing other people's jobs. So get really clear what is your role in your organization and make sure you are doing those things.
Clarity. It always comes back to being clear, right? Fuzzy
Mhm.
targets do not get hit. That's what I
Yep.
always say. Kind
So
of a play
true.
on word, former special agent, but it's true. Like like fuzzy targets do not get hit. I got to know where I'm aiming and I got to know
Mhm.
what my target is. So, yes,
Yep.
clarity. So, for the rest and recovery part of your framework, how do you work with these busy high performers and allow and encourage them to take that rest and recovery, that self-care without them feeling guilty or unproductive?
So it's a mindset shift. And, I'm going to bring in a quote from Stephen Covey where he said, if you want to know a person's true priorities, look at their bank account and their schedule. And that's really what it is. It's understanding, again, you've got to be able, the only way to give your best and to is to make you a priority. And the adage of, when you're on an airplane and the oxygen mask comes on. Well,
Mhm.
another way of looking at it is if you look at the human body, we have all of these organs, and it is the job of the heart to pump blood to all the organs so they can operate at their highest level. Well, you need to understand that the organ that the heart pumps blood to first is itself. Because if the
Mm,
heart doesn't have fresh oxygenated blood, how can it pump blood to all the other organs? It's the same for us. I can't serve those around me if I'm depleted. I can't give the best keynote talk if I'm exhausted and running on empty. So we have to just change our mindset. When we take
mhm.
care of ourselves, we do it for others, not just for ourselves, it's for others. It's about being present. It's about, again, giving your best energy, giving your focus, and giving 100% of yourself. And you cannot do that when you're running behind and running on fumes.
It's absolutely true. I mean, it's just like
Hmm.
a vehicle. We need to keep gassing it. It will
Yeah.
run out of gas. So we have to fuel the car. We change the oil. We do all those things, but we so often, especially for high performers, we forget about ourselves.
And I will just say, it's easier said than done. And going back to what you said about feeling, the guilt, I had to learn this the hard way because I was one of those people who wasn't present. I was one of those people that would go on vacation and had my laptop, always had it with my son. I was a single mom. And it wasn't until that my son actually called me on it and called me out one day and was like, hey, you're not paying attention to me. So we have to understand we think we're doing a great job, but we really have. And so those things like the planning tool, because you put your life in, the things like the bubble time, all of these help you so that you can be more present with your family, with your person, with your clients just as much.
That's beautiful. Yeah, and that perspective from your son, and even the perspective that your schedule, like you said, like your schedule gives you that perspective,
Mhm.
your bank account, others, friends, family, like being open to that, even when it can sting a little bit. I think that's
Mhm.
actually it's important because like, oh wow, I didn't realize that you had that opinion.
Yep.
And I actually interviewed somebody recently who retired, and his family member was at the retirement, and his son was like, yeah, I didn't really think that you were present a lot in some of those years when he thought he really
Mhm.
was, and he was doing a good job and getting up at 05 to knock out reports before his son got up. And he's like, now I understand. Now I
Mm.
understand. He's like, oh,
Yeah.
I thought I was doing a good job. I'm working really early on the weekends, and
Mhm.
perspective. So,
Yep.
Clara, I know that you are big on alignment like
Yeah.
I am. And so I would love to hear for those who are successful on paper, but they're feeling inner discord, they're not feeling aligned, what would be a recommendation that you would give them?
You gotta go back to that vision. You gotta go back to that why. And it's not necessarily that you are ignoring it. Sometimes you just need to change it. You see, I'm 54 now. My why at 54 is very different than my why at 20. So sometimes we are operating from a past perspective, from a past season of our life, and we need to upgrade and update what our vision is. But we know it. When we are feeling out of balance, out of whack, out of alignment, we know it. So it could be as simple as going in and doing an exercise. Many people have seen the balance wheel and looking at all the different areas. Sometimes it's just doing things that are not in alignment with your core values. So, for me, my core value is family. Even though I'm a single empty nester, I still have a family with my siblings, my mom, and knowing that that is my North Star. So looking at the people that I work with, the companies that I work with, the keynotes that I talk, are they going to feed into that or take me away with it? So again, bringing those together in everything we're doing. I know a lot of people, family dinners. I grew up in a family, there were 6 of us total. Both parents worked, but we had family dinners together, and that was family time. The phone was not answered, all of these things. So it's not about being everywhere. It's about being present where you need to be present. So I just think you have to take a pause and really come back and look at these things and just asking yourself, am I doing the things that really matter? What is that legacy? Am I being the person that I want to be? And just having those harder conversations and those eye-opening moments with yourself.
Yeah, and I think it requires intentionality to
Mhm,
actually have that moment of introspection and reflection where you're asking yourself these questions. Because a lot of the folks that I have worked with aren't able to connect back to the vision, or they're not sure what their values are. They might
mhm,
hesitate, say a couple, but you can tell that they're not very confident in that. So, an easy way to fix that is to carve out the time, put it on your calendar, put it in your bubble time, as Clara taught us
mhm.
today,
Yeah,
and ask yourself and go through that. And another thing that I want to really highlight that you said, and I'm so glad that you called this out, is I think it goes into adaptability, that my why and what I was, gunning for 10 years ago, 5 years ago is different now. And so this isn't a one and done process. I
mm-mm,
think it's continuous, and it goes into adaptability and being able to pivot. And it's something that I saw in the last 2 years, speaking personally, everything shifted for me, and that's okay. And then I felt more alignment and more success, more abundance and ease and
yeah,
flow, because I was, is this contributing to my mission, vision, values, or is it taking away? Because my energy and my life force is what I have every
mhm,
day. And I was able to just really restructure my days in life and experience it in such a beautiful, more just peaceful way.
yeah. And that's where I think, so many people are searching for this work-life balance, which I just don't think exists. It's work-life alignment and harmony because
Yeah.
it's never going to be one way or the other. You have to learn how to allow it to evolve and adapt. And it's constantly changing, and you have to let it change along with that. My whole thing is at the end of the day, can I look at myself in the mirror and feel proud of the person I was? Doesn't mean that I got everything done, doesn't mean that I did everything perfectly, but am I proud of the person I was that day and proud of the work that I did?
That's a beautiful grounding question that we should
Mhm.
all ask ourselves every day. That's great.
Yeah.
I love it. All right. So, next question for you. So, you are the executive director of You Are My Light Foundation that builds rehab centers for survivors of human trafficking and slave labor, which I just
Yes.
applaud you. I think that is so much heart. So, I would love to hear, how has that impacted your leadership?
Absolutely. So I will say that by the time this airs, I have stepped down from my executive director role because I am on, but I'm still part of the organization. And, I think it really just did change a lot of what I was doing because I was a part of something bigger than me. And
Yeah.
I think that that's what it is, all of us have to be a part of something bigger, whether it's an organization, whether it's our church, whether it's being involved in a school or whatever it is. And it just shifted why I was doing. I woke up and I just said, okay, now that I'm an empty nester, I want to have my life have more meaning. So even with my books, I've written 3 books. I'm working on my 4th one. All of the proceeds from my books go back to the foundation so that it's something bigger, and people, again, it goes back to that human connection that we talked about earlier in the conversation, of knowing that and understanding that as leaders we have a bigger responsibility than just the work we're doing day to day. It's a ripple effect of who we are impacting, and just knowing that I wanted my life to have meaning.
That's beautiful. Oh,
Mhm.
so good. And yeah, that's amazing. Just like what amazing foundation, and whatever your role is, former executive director by the time this airs,
Yeah,
I think that's fabulous. That's wonderful. So we talk about all of these things that people can do to get more clear and kind of get after it. But what does Clara do for Clara? So what is your secret sauce, or what is a habit or a practice that you might employ that keeps you operating at peak performance?
So, I talked about my strategy session. So, from a work perspective, my strategy session on Sunday and my morning routine are my two best things. Those really ground me. They help me get my focus, let me know where my intentionality needs to go during the day. So, those are sort of my two secret weapons when it comes to work. Outside of that, it's living life on my terms. It is going out and doing Pilates. It is
Mhm.
taking walks with my dog every day and, listening to music, reading books, spending time with my family. I have a talk coming up later this week and my mom's going on the road with me. So, I think it's just again really just making sure that I'm making time for all these things because essentially I run 4 different businesses, but I don't burn out the way that I did because I have learned how to put my life first and the things that matter to me most.
Yeah, I like that you use the word burnout. So I
Mhm.
know burnout is a big topic these days, and I think a lot of folks, and I don't think that people might do this maliciously or consciously, but they almost wear it as a badge.
They
"Oh,
do.
I'm
I
so
did.
busy. Oh,
Oh,
so much
yeah.
going on." Yeah, I mean, I think we all kinda go through that. I mean, I know that
Mhm.
I did, and I didn't realize I was doing it until I think it was characterized in this way when you're, if we are blessed to live into our 80s, 90s, 100s, and we're looking back, are we going to say, wow, I'm just so glad that I worked 100 hours a week and that I was
Yeah.
away from my kids and my family. And I'm just so glad that I burnt
Mhm.
out and I
Yep.
didn't take care of myself. Who's going to say that? Right.
No
So I'm,
one.
I'm not called that out.
Yeah, and that's what it is. I mean, I used to "Oh, I worked 14 hours today," because I felt that brought me worth. I felt that that's what meant value, the more I worked, and it was this whole idea of, again, hustle culture. Why?
Hmm.
We're not doing quality work. Again, it's not about how hard we work or how many hours we work. It's about the work that we do in those hours. And I would rather do work that mattered. And I don't think it makes me a better leader. I don't think it makes me better at anything to say, "Oh, I did this on 4 hours of sleep." Who cares? At the end of the day, it's about the quality of work that I did, the lives that I touched, the impact that I can make, and the legacy that I'm leaving.
It's so true. Yeah, it's you versus you. And
Mhm.
similar to you, I had to learn that the hard way. And again, I didn't realize that I was doing it until somebody asked me, "What are you doing for yourself?" And I started to list everything I was doing for everybody else.
Yep.
And she redirected me
Mhm.
and said, "No, no, no, that's for everybody else. What are you doing for you?" And I had this moment of reckoning where I'm like, "Oh
Yep.
my goodness, what am I doing for me?" I
Mhm.
mean, there are some things I'm always big into physical training, and that was a part of federal law enforcement. But outside of that, I couldn't give her an answer, and that was a come to Jesus moment that Rebecca had to have. And when
Yeah.
I started shifting, like you said, that mindset shift, and I started to give myself
Mhm.
more, then I had more capacity
Yeah.
to receive and to give to others, and I was going further, faster, and sustainably.
Yep. It's so true. It's like when I'm not on the road, I take a nap almost every day. You know, I do watch trash television. I love television. I don't sit there and watch it for 16 hours a day, but I do.
Yes.
Why would I feel bad about that? If something brings you joy, honor
Yep.
that. I always say you better have at least 15 minutes of joy every day in your life.
It's beautiful. Yeah, and turn the volume up. I mean, I'll share this personally. This weekend, I have a senior pup, and I thought we may have had to say goodbye this weekend. So to say that I was on an emotional roller coaster is an
Mhm.
understatement.
Yeah.
But that said, I gave him all of my time, and there was so much joy and
Yep.
peace and love and connection with this little
Mhm.
being that has blessed me with 17 years of life. And I had, this chirping, and I probably should even put a video out about it where people say, "You got to be online every day. You have to post every day. You got to care about the algorithm." And I call bullshit because no, you don't. And absolutely not. You do what brings you joy. You do what brings you love and connection and whatever your power, virtues, and values are. And you turn up the volume. And like
Yeah.
you said, and I always say work life harmony. And I know that you know that I love the word harmony. So I love that you
Mhm.
use that word.
Yeah.
You know, you're gonna give more to your personal life at some times, and you're gonna give more to work or your career, your businesses or your foundation, books. other
Yeah.
times, and both are beautiful and okay. So stop trying to strike that perfect balance because it doesn't exist and it causes stress.
No, and again, yes, the algorithms, there is something to that, but you know what? One day, 1 week, it's not gonna tank your business, and what I have found is that when I really show up authentic, the right
Mhm.
people come to me, and they understand these things, and I want that person that's like, "You know what? I would have taken the weekend off to be with to be there too." That's exactly what I would have done. Those are the people that I wanna work with.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
leading by example and it's magnetic
Yeah.
because we really do wanna repel those that we wouldn't be able to serve, and we want to attract those that like, "You know
Mhm.
what? Love that. Thank you." That is self-leadership. That is
Yep.
holistic leadership, and living it and breathing it and then talking about that
Yeah.
is is important.
Well, again, it just shows that you have your priorities. I mean, if I would say again, I'm a speaker, I'm on the road, and not that I would just leave somebody in the lurch, but I'm telling you right now, if something happened to one of my family members, I'm going to go and be with my family member. I'm going to do my best to find a replacement and to work with them. But again, what are the things that are going to matter most at the end of the day?
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. So we talked about so many amazing things and you dropped so many gems. So this might be a hard question for you to answer, but what would be one or maybe two big takeaways that you would like to leave our audience with here today that pertains to either leadership, mindset, or performance?
Again, I think shifting the mindset about where are you investing your time, your energy, your focus, in addition to your dollars. Because I think we always look at the dollars, that return on investment, but it goes well beyond the dollars. So, again, are you investing your time, your focus, and your energy in the places that are going to give back to you? So, I think that's a really big one to do. I think, again, really looking at, are you living in alignment? Are you clear on your core values? And are you living by those and modeling that? Because we teach people how to treat us. And then I think, again, as a leader, you're going to have to understand that no is going to be a part of it. And it's going to have to be par for the course. So going back to, am I making decisions that are for the health of the organization? Because that's what we have to do. And unfortunately, you're going to have to say no. But when you do that from a place of integrity of what
Mhm.
is best for the company, you're always gonna be in a good position.
So good. Oh, Clara, thank you so much. And
Yeah.
for those who are listening that want to reach out to you, learn more about you, your books, your business, your speaking gigs, where can they find you?
So, obviously, I have my website, just claracapano.com, and then I'm all over the socials, and if they just search my name, they'll be able to connect with me, and certainly just the email clara@claracapano.com is a great place to find me.
Love it. I will ensure that those links are listed in the show notes below this episode so folks can go straight to you. Clara, thank you so much for a candid, amazing conversation today. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you, and keep doing what you're doing because 'cause you're impacting lives and changing lives one day at a time too.
Thank you.